Hello and welcome to another episode of the podcast hosted by me, Ciaran, here to give you tips, tools, and resources that you can use to smash your dating, romantic, and sexual goals. Here I am with the dating and attraction expert known as Miss Kezia Noble. Apparently, over 75 million views on YouTube, so I'm told. Apparently, featured on Vice and E4 and ITV, amongst other places. And from what I see, you spend a lot of time. You seem to be very diligent, very dedicated to helping men achieve dating success. Now, I have a question for you. The very first question I have is why? Let me explain what I mean, because I don't mean this in a bad way, but it's like, say, me, the reason why I got into this was because I had no idea what I was doing. And then I came across a book online some years ago, which changed my life. And then somewhere along the way, I went from being a student to a guy who actually helps people himself. But that can't be your story. So, what is yours? How did you get involved with this? What's Kezia's story?
Well, it's Kesia.
Kezia.
So I do this because I'm good at it. This is where I'll be honest with you, I'm not the most talented of people. I've never made this claim that I didn't do particularly well at school. I don't have many hobbies, not many interests. And so when I'm good at something, I go all in. I think that, okay, I'm good at this. I understand psychological dynamics. I understand how attraction works. I find it fascinating. I am so fascinated when I see even a woman who's not a 10, who's not even a 7, and she manages to just wrap men around her finger. She manages to just seduce men. And sometimes men are like, I don't know what it is about this woman. I'm just like so attracted to her, even though she's not my type. I like to break that down as well. So I find that interesting how psychology is used in order to build attraction. I was a skeptic at first. So back in 2006, when I was essentially headhunted by a pick-up artist company, because that was the terminology then, PUA. They told me, we're running these boot camps which help guys get women, and we need some girls to give some feedback in the sort of feedback section. So we're like guinea pigs. They practice on us and we give feedback. And the first thing I said is, well, this is a load of shit because, it's about looks and chemistry. I was very naive then. And so I went along to this boot camp anyhow because I was curious. And there was two things that I realized very, very quickly was that there were things that you could teach someone in order to make them more attractive. Because I really was someone that believed it was all down to looks. I am quite a looks focused person, more than the average. Like I will go for a guy much more on his looks than the average woman. So I was completely like, that's the only thing that matters, that and maybe some confidence, right? And his status. But then when I saw like guys who I initially thought were not my type, I was not attracted to, suddenly working game on me and me thinking, even though I knew that they were working game, thinking this is making this guy more attractive. That's the first thing I noticed, and I was hooked in then. And the second thing that I noticed was that the other girls there were just not giving that honest feedback. So I'm very straightforward. You'll notice, like during this conversation, how candidly I speak, and I'm very transparent and I'm very unapologetic. I'm not going to make up things about myself that are going to make me sound good. I know all my flaws, for instance. So, but I'm like that with people. I call them out very quickly. And I was giving that kind of feedback that these guys really needed in order to make those, to have a clearer understanding about what women wanted, an honest insight into a female mind rather than what sounds acceptable. And I think when they have made the decision to get help, they put their ego to one side once they've made that decision. And then you can speak very to the point, very candidly with a man. I don't think men like to be sugarcoated. They want to be told I'm a great guy, but this. They want to just say, okay, this is what you're doing, A, B, and C. Whereas with women, even though they make the decision to get help, everything has to be sugarcoated. And I'm not that person. So even though I find how to, the breakdown of female desire in relation to how a woman makes herself more attractive, very, very interesting. I wouldn't be able to teach it because I just speak too candidly. I'm too much to the point.
All right, this brings me to an interesting question, because something I know that you know, and you must deal with this a lot, is that in this space, there's a belief that you're a woman, ergo, you ain't got a clue what the hell you're talking about. Like I see this a lot. Apparently, you can't teach, you can't ask a fish to teach you how to fish, or things like this. You just said something interesting though, because you said that you were giving honest feedback and other women weren't giving honest feedback, which raises a question in my mind, because the general consensus that I kind of hear is that, okay, women are attracted to various things, but they don't know what they're really attracted to because society doesn't actually tell them that. So if you ask a woman, say, what should I do on a date? She will tell you the socially prescribed thing because that's what the media has told her and that's what she genuinely believes. However, the implication that I'm getting from what you're saying is that maybe women actually have a very deep knowledge of what they really want, but they won't actually say it, but will instead go for what is true. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, but they also don't know how to articulate it. So women do have a deeper understanding of what they want, but they might not be telling men for the reasons which you gave. However, I do also think it's because they don't know how to articulate it. So for instance, if a woman said, well, I like a guy to play it cool, she's telling the truth, but what does that mean, playing it cool? What does that mean? When do you play it too cool where the woman thinks you're not interested? What does playing it cool mean? So I'll take be more confident, play it cool, don't be so needy. And then I will take that and I will add the detail. This is how you communicate that. This is how you communicate an abundance mindset, an abundance lifestyle. So I hope that clarifies.
No, it does. It does. Got you. So, question then, speaking about you and the coaching and the work that you do for guys. So, what would you say are one, two, or three of the main things that you feel like men need? So, when a guy comes to you, let's say he works for Deloitte and Touche. Yeah, Deloitte and Touche. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's the name of the company, right? Anyway, he works for Deloitte, and he comes to you and he's like, "My dating life is not where I want it to be." Based on your past experience, what are the main reasons why his life isn't where he wants it to be? And what are the things that you work on with him?
Okay, well, I like to do more case by case, but let's say in general, it will be the number one point will be uncertainty and neediness. Are sort of wrapped together, those two things. So there's a point with men when they might approach a woman, for instance, or things are going well with a woman. And that, if they don't have the experience or confidence, that can create a trap. Let me explain what I mean. So things are going well, and that's when paralysis starts. They start thinking, I don't want to mess this up. This has gone really well. And if I make a move now, if I show my intent too sexually or maybe with too much confidence, that's going to frighten her away. So the neediness comes in, and then that's when all their game starts falling apart, essentially. It's when you're going in, you're playing to win, right? You're playing to win, and you sort of, there's a part of you that doesn't give a shit about the outcome almost. It's a strange one. How can you play to win and not care about the outcome? But you're sort of like, you're not really taking anything personally. But when you start liking a woman and it's going well and you're making these kind of you're making this progress, then it can suddenly be like, oh shit, this is going well and I like her. I actually like this girl. It's more than just sex now. I actually like this girl. And that's when they start making all the mistakes. That's when they start playing not to lose. They go in that mindset. Oh, I better be very careful of what I say. I better say exactly the right things. I better not make too much of a move. They start becoming apologetic, weaker. It's a very strange one. And that's why I say to guys, beware of the friend zone. Beware of it. A lot of guys get trapped in the friend zone where their initial goal was to sleep with her. And then time goes on, and then they start spending more time with that woman. They start having feelings for her. They start liking her. And then they start falling in love with her to a point. It's more than just sex. And that's when the paralysis comes in. playing not to lose. I don't want to fuck up what I had. So I'm going to be extra careful. This is why it's very important that men make a move very, very quickly, as soon as possible. They shouldn't be waiting around too long. Well, that's the first thing, but then there's other things also. That's linked to the sort of the scarcity mindset. Men have to always understand that there's other options. They have to always have one foot out the door, so to speak. Women. Another thing is men need to
hold on. When you say options and one foot out the door, what are you basically saying? That in order for a man to be as attractive as he needs to be in order to attract high quality women, does he need to have options just so that they know he has options and they know that if they don't, let's say, play their cards right, he'll go another way? Or is it actually for him and the way he feels within himself and the fact that now that he knows he has options, he doesn't really care about any one specific woman, because he also knows that if she doesn't turn up to the date, there's another 4 or 5 who will?
It's both. It's both, but some guys have to fake it. Think about it. Some guys do not have an abundance lifestyle. They don't have other options. They don't. They just don't. They're not at that point yet. They might be starting to learn. They realize, I don't have other options right now. So what he has to do is he has to create the illusion that he does. It's a pantomime. You have to do that at the beginning. You can try and sit there and say to yourself, hey, I'm great. I have other options. I have this abundance mindset. But until you start racking up those reference points and those results, then you're going to have to fake it a little bit.
All right. And how do you help guys to fake it? So some guy who's listening now and is in the middle of New York and is like, well, how would I even start? I don't feel confident at all. I don't have options. I get ghosted on apps even after getting maybe 1 or 2 matches after 2 weeks of swiping. How the hell am I supposed to pretend to be something that I'm not?
So it's not about being something you're not entirely. So for instance, if you're an introvert, I'll show you how an introvert can be attractive to women. Okay, so when I say being, I don't like that expression, being something you're not, but it is playing chess with a woman a little bit, playing mind chess with her and creating an idea in her head about you that's not in conflict with your personality. Okay, so I'll never try and make an introvert to be an extrovert. I'll never take a man and say, lie about your lifestyle. Tell her you've got this, tell her you've got that. I will never do something like this.
But he's implying.
Sorry?
But he's implying things. He's implying things about his lifestyle.
I think we're not implying anything that's not true about his lifestyle or his personality, but more about his mindset. So if his mindset is not there and he's got this scarcity mindset, he's going to have to camouflage that. So let's use camouflage, right? So he's going to have to hide that and imply, as you said, that actually don't second guess me kind of thing. You know, you think that I'm just going to give you this endless flow of attention, but actually I'm going to give it in installments. Something like that shows paying it full. But you have to give women installments of attention. It's on tap. Anything you give on tap loses its value. For men and women, both. So, for instance, that creates an idea in her head. It makes her go, he's not like the other guys. So let's say you go on a date with a woman and it's all going well. So let's say you're thinking in your head, you're in that scarcity mindset thinking, this has got to work because I don't have any other options. You've got to hide that completely because that will make her run for the hills. But also, in order to compensate for that, you need to play a few little games, make some alterations to how you usually behave with women that you become needy with, in order for them to believe, hold on, this guy must have other options. So back to installments. So you've had a wonderful date. She's on cloud 9. She's waiting for her next installment. It doesn't come so quickly. You wait a little bit. You don't be so predictable. Predictable is the death of attraction. So a lot of people have this 3-day rule of texting back. I think there is some logic in that. It doesn't have to be 3 days though, but not coming across.
You mean like 3 days after the first time you've met? Yeah, is that what you're referring to?
That's just a rule that people have, the 3-day rule.
I think that rule is complete BS. I say strike while the iron's hot.
Okay, yes and no. Yes and no. So a lot of women, when they go on a date with a guy and it's going well, they're presuming he's gonna text straight away because he loved it. We had such a good time. He was really into me, and suddenly he doesn't. It's annoying for the woman, but she's like, "Well, hold on, what's going on here?" Things going on in her mind.
I was referring to the first meeting. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Mm.
Does he like me? Is he that? Oh, okay. You're talking about the approach.
Yeah. Like you've met her in a bar, in a club, wherever the hell it is. You've met her on the street.
Okay.
That's what I was referring to.
So let me answer that one. What I say to my students is, when they have approached, when they're swapping numbers to meet up, I always say, add this, you know what, the next 2 weeks, let me get that done and over with. It's a head fuck the next 2 weeks. And then we're going to meet up. So just that tells her what? You have a busy lifestyle. You have this schedule. You're being polite to her. You're not going to mess her around. But she knows now, I'm not his number one priority. He's making time for me because you said, let me get this 2 weeks out the way with. Or 1 week, you can say. Got a lot on. That's good, because you need to create this picture. You need to create this idea that there's a lot going on in your life right now. And she's not number one priority. Maybe she will be one day, but she's not there yet. And she will be waiting for that phone call. She's more likely to be like, is he going to call after a week? Then don't call after a week. Call maybe a little bit later than a week, 10 days. She'll be a lot more happy to hear from you if you just wait that little bit longer.
Do you encourage your men to use social media? Because I agree with everything that you're saying, but I basically get my clients to use social media to facilitate this whole process. So for instance, let's say you meet a woman and then she's following you on Instagram, and then she sees you on Instagram working out at the gym in the pursuit of a goal. Oh, so he's actually driven. He's actually going after something. She sees you on Instagram doing, let's say, stand-up comedy or improv acting or whatever it is that you're doing. She sees you living your life through your stories. So indirectly, you're attracting her and reminding her of the fact that you have this value without actually needing to speak to her one-to-one. Do you do anything like that?
2 things about that. 3 things. 1, that does take time. That does take a lot of time to do it. So people having to create a really positive, popular, attractive social media account does take time. Some of my students, they're not on social media. They don't want to be on social media. They don't want to put in that effort into an account. Okay, that's the first thing. But let's say they do. Let's say like your clients, they're like, no, we're happy to do that. For me, for a lot of women I know, it's when we don't see the man. We know he's got a social media account, but he's barely updating it. That's like, what's he up to? And sometimes make us more curious. If he's putting out his whole life there, it for me, I don't want to make it about me, that's the thing, but I know a lot of women will feel like me. It's a bit of a turn off when a guy's like on social media too much. Here's me doing my workout and here's me having my
but it doesn't have to be his whole life.
He's like, unless that's his job, then it's like, who's he trying to impress? Who's he trying to impress here? A lot of the guys who do very well have no social media at all. Nothing. They're just this mystery. They come to her, they approach her, and then suddenly they disappear and they come back. That's quite attractive. Now, I'm not saying that's for everyone. For slightly younger guys who are very happy to, invest in their social media, and if they get it just right, yes, it can help. It's like, look, I'm doing all this great stuff, and she's watching that, and she's building up more of a picture of him. I do get that, but it can also work the other way. You know, the mysterious man who comes along. I've dated 5 guys who had no social media at all. One had a terrible Instagram account where he didn't update. It was a crazy, silly Instagram account. And it's kind of, it's not so needy, you know. It's like, I don't give a fuck about social media. I don't give a fuck what people think, right? So
I hear you, but I say there's a difference between, say, I live on Instagram and I'm on Instagram all day, every day, and maybe I update my story twice a week or 3 times a week. You know.
But if she knows but this is sometimes a bit of a problem for both men and women. It's because if they match up on, Hinge or whatever it is, they will sometimes end up following each other on Instagram. And I find that with a lot of my clients, they go, well, she ended up following me, but nothing happened, because there's that connection there. They kind of think, especially men, they get very lazy. They think, well, I'm following her, it's good enough, and we've got this connection, and it never goes into real life. That's another problem.
Is that because they haven't tried? Is he reaching out to her to message her and to try and facilitate a date, or is he just expecting it to, or is he expecting her to reach out to him?
I think I'm not on date. I mean, I've tried dating apps, and I will have that story. My experience is very funny. It's only for 2 weeks, but my friends are just like, no, it's just like we match, and then nothing happens, and we end up following each other. And the guy thinks it's like mental masturbation. He thinks, well, we've matched. She kind of liked me. Let's leave it. Let's leave it there. Let's not progress it. Almost like, because they're fearful. Like that moment, they try and actually progress, and she says, no, actually, I'm fine. That's like a rejection. Listen, I don't do dating apps because I see what it's done to my female friends. Some of them have been on there for 8 years. Very good looking women, barely any dates, because they're getting matches, but it's not leading up to anything.
Well, so that's an interesting thing though, because it's like if I've got a man and he's on dating apps, he's like, I'm not getting any dates whatsoever. And I've got a woman who's on dating apps and she's not getting any dates whatsoever. Those are two completely different reasons. So for instance, now, and this is on a bit of a tangent, but see, like if I'm on apps, something you see a lot is that women don't put effort into their profiles, because really and truly the way what your dating profile is, it's kind of like it's bait that you use to attract a certain type of human. You know, you're attracting someone who's going to resonate with you. So if let's say I love working out and I've got pictures of me at the gym, women who like men who go to the gym or go to the gym themselves will go, oh, that sounds really cool. Or if I do skydiving or whatever it is. For instance, I'm in a relationship now, and on my Hinge, I said, I'm looking for someone to have a committed relationship of fun, love, support, and fantastic sex. Does that sound good? And my girlfriend saw that and it resonated with her. What I see a lot of women do on apps is that they don't put effort into their profiles at all. So they just have a few pictures of themselves, like there's 3 or 4 pics, and they're in a cocktail dress with friends. And then they've written like the bare minimum on their profile, or they maybe said what they want in a man. So then as a result, they haven't really put out the right bait to attract a certain type of man anyway. So yes, they're getting lots of matches, but it's not really targeted because they're just getting all sorts of guys. Whereas it's like if you're some woman and you're really quirky and you like to break out into Frank Sinatra routines while you're in Tesco, if that's you, put that on your profile, because then the man who's like, oh my God, yeah, me too, he will actually see that. So yeah, I feel like
I don't give advice to women. Like some of my female friends said, what should I do with my profile? I'm like, I don't have a clue. You're a woman. It's just like, I can only help men. I can't help women.
Nah, women have got to tell the story of who they are.
But I do see now what you mean. They do have not a lot of information there, because most
next
of
to nothing
on there are just looking at how good looking the woman is, and that's it. So they just put a couple of nice photographs.
I mean, that is true. But then there are men out there who, it's kind of like this. Like every man really cares about what a woman looks like on an app. That is true. But at the same time, if you meet a woman who looks good but also happens to love Dragon Ball Z, that's even better. So if he's like, yeah, she looks good, yeah, I'd have sex with her. But hold on, she's dressed like Goku. Oh my God, she loves Dragon Ball Z too. That's going to come up when he's messaging her.
What the fuck is Dragon Ball Z?
Seriously, you've never heard of it?
I'm not a millennial.
Never heard of it.
No, what is that?
It's a Japanese anime. It's like one of the.
Well, why would I know that? I don't have any. No.
Okay, but the thing is this is like Dragon
age.
Ball Z is so big. It's like the name itself, I would have thought would have at some point just kind of hit your consciousness.
Listen, I've never seen Lord of the Rings. I've never seen any Marvel movies.
Any?
No. If I have, it's by mistake. I don't think I have.
How about Game of Thrones?
Never seen one.
Yeah, you should really watch that. Like, trust me, it will change your life.
How old
Like,
are you?
um, I like to think I'm older than I look. So I'm 41.
Okay, so we're like the same age. What on earth are you into this millennial shit
No,
for?
but you're a millennial. How old are you?
I'm not a millennial.
How old
I'm
are you?
your age. So why
You're a
would
millennial. The
I'm not
millennial.
I'm a,
No, no, no,
I'm a
no
zennial. I'm a
no.
zennial apparently. I was
What's
born
this?
at exact this sweet spot apparently. Between 1978 and 1985 is this sweet spot where
Okay, well,
normal
apparently
people are born.
the millennial generation apparently is like 1980 to 1993.
Really? Well, I read today.
Yeah,
Anyway, I'm not into millennial stuff. Let's put it that way.
evidently, evidently. Um, yeah, where were we now? So, what what specific help do you provide? So, for instance, in terms of courses, one-to-one coaching, etc., how does that work?
So I provide a 7-day mastery program, which is in the UK and in the USA. And that's live one-on-one training with myself and my coaches, both male and female. And it's very intense. It's like going up, talking to women and getting that immediate feedback and advice like straight away. We have that. We have the acceleration online training program for people that prefer to sort of space it out their learning. They don't want to they don't want it to be live. It is live coaching. They don't want to be in-person coaching. So everything that we provide is one-on-one. Everything. We don't do boot camps.
I feel like that's the best way
It is. I think
because it's tailored, you know, and then you actually get to know the person that you're working with and help them around their unique sticking points.
Well, I do. The first thing that I do is the induction. It's like a diagnosis. So we go through everything what they believe their sticking points are, what their strengths are. And that's important to go through what their strengths are. A lot of guys forget about that. They're too focused on what's going wrong for them rather than what's right for them. We do some self reframing, which is very important. And then we go through the objectives that they want to achieve. I show them what's realistic, how we're going to achieve it. They talk about what kind of training they want. Because most of them want very, very to the point, no bullshit kind of advice, and they want to be pushed hard. They know this is it. This is their 7 days. Got to get those results in. And some of them, though, they want a bit more carrot and stick. You know, they want it to be a little bit more gentle, the process. So, and that's what I do straight away. And I read them very, very well. I understand them very, very quickly. I'm a trained eye, so I spot things that a non-trained eye can't spot. And yeah, and then they go in 7 days and it changes their life. I mean, we have over 200 video testimonials on my website from guys from all across the globe, different ages, different sticking points. They talk about their personal journey. So yeah.
And that's brilliant. And how exactly can somebody find out about your courses, your training? Where would they go?
Go to my website, kezia-noble.com. That will have the links to my socials there if you want to find out more about my YouTube channel. I do regular videos. I upload regular videos on YouTube about specific sticking points to help guys overcome those or find ways to start at least trying to overcome those sticking points. Yeah, so kezia-noble.com.
All right, lovely. And before we go, as I said via email, I would like to know a little bit about Kezia herself. So, could you tell me one, maybe two, of your dating catastrophes, your dating tragedies, your dating calamities?
Can I do one when I was very young, or no? Is that boring? That was my
I
first
mean,
date.
as yeah, we can have a young one. We can have a young one, but I'd like to have one
Okay, let me
relatively.
give one young one though, because
Mm-hmm.
both of these stories have a good ending actually. But I was a teenager, but it is a good one. It is a good one, and I really fancied the next door neighbor of my best friend. This guy, he was gorgeous, and eventually he really was. And eventually, he's like, "Yeah, I'll go on a date with Kesia. I'll go on a date with her." He's very cocky, and I said to him, "Let's go." This is me being fucking idiot. I said, let's go to Laser Quest. Quasar. It was Quasar in those days. You must remember Quasar.
Vaguely, yes.
It was the shooting game.
Yeah.
So me, let's go to Quasar. It's like, what? I said, yeah, because I really liked Quasar. I said, that would be fun. And we were there, and it's really hot in the room. And I'm running around, and I'm taking it really seriously. And he's just like, this is crap. And then I'm drenched in sweat, like drenched. And we just sat on the bus, and he wouldn't talk to me. And I'm just sitting there drenched in sweat. And then we got home. And then I said, okay, I said to my friend, ring him up to see if he wants to go on another date with me. And his brother picked up, his little brother picked up. He said, no, he never wants to see her again.
Wow. You know what?
No, it's a good ending, because then 1 year later we bumped into each other, and the roles reversed. So we did go on another date, and then I wasn't interested in him, and he was like chasing me. So
yeah, no, to be honest, I think you're a bit like good riddance, because going to Quasar, that's fun. Running around, shooting things, building up sweat, like that's cool. Like that's a good date. So he should have appreciated that. Him not having a bad time says more about him than it does about you, in my humble opinion.
Yeah.
But anyway, I've got one for you before you give me your older one. I've got one for you. So I'm also a teenager. This is like the first girlfriend I've ever had. And it's like, the truth is, we never did anything. You know, you're a teenager and you're like, I've got a boyfriend, but what do you do? Well, you ain't got any money to do anything. It's just like you hold hands and stuff and maybe like sit in a park. Well, our relationship was over the phone. We would just talk on the phone and have these conversations. But then one day I ended up going round to her house. Now, it's like during the day and her sister was there. It was like nothing untoward happened. I mean, I didn't have the confidence for that anyway, but still, I'm so scared. I'm terrified, right? Nerves and my heart is beating. So I badly need a shit, don't I? Badly.
Oh my goodness.
So I go into the toilet and I did what I needed to do, but I blocked the toilet, didn't I? I blocked. I know, and I'm there. I'm like, oh my God, what the hell do I do? How do I fix this? I couldn't fix this. So then I had to let her know. And then I actually never saw her again after that. That was the end of our acquaintance.
Bad.
Yeah, it wasn't good. So what's your recent one?
The second one. The second one, though, is boring now I think about it, because it was just a bad date. And then it was a really, really bad date. Awful date. Like the guy just threw me in a taxi and it was like, I never want to see you again, kind of thing. Like, bye. And we met up again, I think a year and a half later. I think it took him a year and a half to recover. And we ended up getting married. See, very bad date. And you can end up marrying that person.
Still married?
No, unfortunately. But we do, we have a child and everything's nice and we get on very well.
All right, but out of curiosity, what occurred to make this so awful?
I was just an absolute cunt. Sorry. I was just a fucking nightmare. I was vile. The way I spoke to him everything was just vile. I was very insecure around him. I was overcompensating for my fear, my insecurities. Oh my God. Like, just, it was hideous. But, then a year and a half later, I was a different person. I was a completely different person. So you never know. But I think the one that I was going to say, this is a faux pas that I made on a date. This is really bad. So my brother, he set me up on a date with one of his friends. And I was in Brighton at the time. And I was doing a boot camp. And I was kind of like, oh, you know what? I said to my brother, he's like, oh, he lives in Brighton. Come on, just let him take you out for lunch when you've got your lunch break. So I think his name was Peter. I don't remember. Let's just say his name's Peter, right? And he's like texting me going, hi, I'm Peter. I booked us the table. I said, okay, fine. And I was just like, I had the boot camp on my mind. I was just not there, and we were having lunch and we were talking. And I found the messages they'd sent me saying, hey, it's me, Peter. And I just went in front of him and said, who the fuck is Peter? And he said, that's me. Oh, shit. I don't even know his name. That was bad.
Mm. All right. My final one. This is bad. This is quite bad. So, this is about 10 years ago now, right? I met this girl, and funnily enough, we matched on Tinder. But okay, you've never really been on apps before, but when you match someone, there's a sliding scale to matching. It doesn't just because you match one doesn't mean you're in love with their profile. It's like I like your profile just enough to swipe right, and then there's oh my god, please have sex with me now. I liked her profile just enough to swipe right. Like I was barely interested. However, turned up on the day and she was incredible. And we had this whirlwind romance. Okay, me and her. And it's like, oh, it was, I couldn't believe it. It was just like
What
everything.
about Dragon Ball Z? Or, no?
No, we didn't. And it's Z, just so we're clear, Dragon Ball Z. But anyway, there we go. I forgive you. Now, me and this woman, we basically fell in love over the course of like a month or two. But then she went to Jamaica and she was all supposed to go to Jamaica. She was all supposed to go. But anyway, she goes. And then after she goes, she starts to like, she's in Jamaica and like Jamaican men, they're not shy at all. Like you would have no business in Jamaica because Jamaican men, you walk down the street as a woman there and every fifth man is approaching you to let you know just how beautiful you are. That's what they're all like. So me and her, even though she was in Jamaica, we were like still messaging and staying in contact. But then the Jamaican men started to turn her. Right, they started to make her feel attractive. She started to go, and the more she went, the more I like tried to cling on. Right, I'm just like trying to cling on, which pushed her away. And then at some point, she was like, "Oh, Ciaran, I just don't want to do this anymore," which honestly broke me. So then now we still haven't gone to the terrible date. This is just a setup for it. A few months later, she came back to the UK, and I had it in my head that we were going to meet again, and I was gonna win her over. I was gonna prove myself. So the long and short of it is that me and her met, and I had a panic attack. I was so nervous, yeah, so nervous that I literally had a panic attack, and she ended up taking me to the hospital.
Oh my god, that's really extreme.
That's what happened.
That is extreme. Okay.
That's my story. That's my truth.
That compared to yours, like me not knowing the guy's name on the date with, forgetting it, and just and going to Quasar and sweating.
I mean, I would rather that was the worst thing that happened to me, to be honest. Yeah, because like that story wasn't nice when I was living through it, but it does give me a nice anecdote to tell people about nowadays. So, is what it is.
It's very much like a big thing that I teach is push pull, and it's about giving and taking. It's very, very important that a man has to make sure that the woman feels that she needs to give. It's all just her taking, then she loses interest. So it's very much about she has to feel like she has to give, and that's probably in your situation is that you became like, oh, you said I was broken, I had to prove myself. It's all about you giving, not
that totally
room for her to give back.
Totally. That was it.
Natural givers. They want to give. They want to feel like they want to impress you. Like, oh, did I do well? Did I do well? Did you like my outfit? Did I tick the boxes? And if you're just like, I'm a mess without you, and it's all about me having to prove myself to you, that's what makes women run for the hills.
100%. There is nothing about that story that makes me think, I wonder where it went wrong. Yeah. Like, there's none of it. Like, but yeah, there we go. But Kezia, it has been lovely chatting. It really has.
Conversation.
Yeah. So let's stay in touch. Basically, to the man who's watching, please go to her website, check out her products. She's got loads of books as well as the one-to-one coaching. And yeah, just thank you for your time. It's been really good talking to you.